You want to design an adventure, a simple, clean adventure with a simple, clean structure. An adventure which gives you the opportunity to improvise and let the story unfold. Then what do you need? You need to start with a clear ending. Define a location, stakes, and an outcome. Then, you want to draw the opening scene. Again, with the location, the stakes, and the outcome. The stakes will often be defined by the characters. If you want to, you can create a form of resonance between your final and your first scene. Then, fill in by drawing all the discovery scenes and the development scenes. Each discovery and development scenes require characters and environments. How do you use framing to display the critical elements of the story? And how do you depict them? You depict them through pictures. Use basic composition rules in order to focalize the attention of the public on the subject of each scene. For the ending, the stakes are essential. For the opening, the atmosphere is essential. For the discovery, balance the relationship between environment and characters in terms of new elements. And finally, for the development scenes, you want to put a lot more emphasis on characters, relationships, and conflicts. Starting with the final scene gives you a clear destination, allowing you to make your story clearer and easier to write. The final scene will often be impressive. Doesn't have to be, but making it more memorable than the other scenes might be a good idea. It needs to have a sense of balance. Now, which kind of balance is that? And between which elements? You want to balance the attention of the public and of the character between three elements: the location, the stakes and characters, and the outcome. You will create a high level of diversity by creating diversity between your final scenes. From one story to the next, especially if you're writing a series, change the location, change the stakes, and change the outcome. You don't have to modify all three of these criteria. And if you want to create a form of resonance between the final and the first scene, create a form of semblance between either location, stakes, or outcome. You fix the level of difficulty of the scene, of the story. And next to the end, you want a certain level of unbalance in favor of the character, or against them if you plan to eliminate them. You have to use space. You display the ending. You show the focal element of the final scene, the disproportion, and the excess if necessary. You want to make this scene memorable, and to make it more memorable, the easiest way would be to display the uniqueness of the setting. The setting will do the work. Use it, use its unique features. Ask yourself, what are its peculiarities? What makes it unique? And how do you make use of its uniqueness? How do you use the creatures present in the setting to enhance it? You want to highlight the hazards of the space you're exploiting in order to display its life. The fact that it is a living element will enhance the crisis, the final crisis. And if the story ends with the loss of an essential character, the disappearance will be made clearer and more light. How should your story end? And how will you represent this end? In most endings, the characters face a trial. The environment is a hazard, and they face threats. These two are two separate elements. The story may conclude in the death of some essential characters. Now, which of them should die? Why should they? And how should they die? What would cause their disappearance? Death is not the only way to make a character disappear. The opening sequence puts the emphasis on the atmosphere. Start with the story's fundamental: the colors, the climate, and the context. The colors you use will define your story and the story's climate. They represent the story's themes through colorimetric icons. Use these icons, define their shapes, which will represent the story best. The story's aesthetics should be anchored in the first scene. It is the story's summary, just as the ending is. If an element has to be seen first, depict it first. The following scenes are here to support both the opening and the ending. The opening can have a high degree of resonance with the ending. You can create a cyclical story to enhance the relationship between your stories. The ending of one story can serve as a transition if you plan a sequel. The cyclical nature of a story may help you to enhance the relationship between the characters and the public, creating a large continuity. Attachment between the public and the characters, and the public and the story, will be displayed in the opening through the atmosphere, creating a sense of belonging, a wish to stay, a wish to return to your story. Make use of familiar images, use hints, use evocative images. Solicitate the common visual library to find appropriate symbols. Discovery scenes establish a tension, whereas development scenes resolve it. The same relationship exists between the opening and the ending sequence. Where the former establish a tension, the latter resolves it. Discovery scenes establish the pace. They define a rhythm. Balancing slow and fast events is therefore essential here. The even scenes in the story, or 2, 4, 6 and 8, if you use a 10-chapter structure, will serve as discovery scenes. The first events are introduced. A new disruptive element is presented. It allows the public and the characters to discover unknown worlds and stories. This introduction can be fast or slow. In each discovery scene, the characters and the public will meet new people, foes or friends. These characters need goals. They need behavior traits to become relatable, and they need quirks to become memorable. Whether they are physical or behavioral quirks, they can act as support and they can act as opposition. Their alignments and their affinities can evolve as the story unfolds. The characters and the public will visit new environments. These environments are defined by landmarks. Compose them using simple third rules. For each new location that you would be visiting, ask yourself the following question. Where would you go on a vacation? What would this place look like? What would be its main colors? How would be the atmosphere? Why would you choose this place? And which special features does it present? Compose your discovery scene with this special feature as a focal element. It will often be a landmark. Focal elements do not have to be the center of the image. Use color contrast to enhance its presence. You could also make use of shape contrast to display it more clearly. Meeting people and visiting environments contribute to creating enjoyable stories. The public wants reliable characters, not necessarily strong characters or lovable characters, but characters which display a high level of coherence and consistency, or a high level of cohesion. Characters which will entertain them sometime, or characters which, as they appear on the screen, could make them smile, or could make them feel uncomfortable. All needed is reaction. The same logic is applicable to environments and settings. Development scene intend to resolve a tension installed by discovery scenes. Therefore, their major feature, their reason to be, is incompleteness. Discovery scenes are incomplete, and this incompleteness allows a follow-up. It forces a continuity. It introduces a necessity to move, a necessity to change. This change is brought through development. The characters will have to research. They will have to explore known locations or visit new ones in order to gather information and other kinds of resources in order to recruit new characters. The flow installed by development scene is the continuity of the flow installed by discovery scenes, but there's a major shift here. A story develops through action. All images, all graphical representations, even representing a fixed figure, should have a sense of movement. It is the main difference between discovery and development. As all images have a flow, emphasize a split between crisis and peace, and then gradually conjoin them. Block out the essential shape of the stories, and then add layers of complexity. Bringing a diversity of scenes to the public is always appreciated. Crisis scene complement recovery scenes. The violence and the brutality of the former engender the soothing and the peace of the latter. How do you transcribe pain in an image? You can use facial expressions, you can use gestures, you can use textures. The most effective way is to distort the image. To enhance the shape distortion, use painful colors. Colors which will complement the anomalies and abominations. Colors which will evoke crisis.